Like, I think all the way that you go about phrasing, the way that you go about thinking about the music should be the same. I don't see why there should be a difference. What my teacher told me, right? If you can play Bach, you can play everything else. So we're playing Bach. I feel like the pre-interview did nothing to prepare me for this. You guys trying to set me up or something? Like,
If you have a requirement, I can put it in the subtitles.
if you like music and anime, please reach out. Join us Discord.
Hello, Caleb.
What's up, everybody?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a rising senior in college, and I have a YouTube channel called WattKeys that has that does, like, piano reviews. I do some playing, and I do some live streams as well. So I guess that's my identity now. I'm a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're quite successful as a YouTuber. So we were check out your channel, and your growth went from like huge in such short amount of time. Like, was this something you were planning on? Like, did you have a certain strategy for this?
I think what's more important, right, when it comes to YouTube strategy is always not just about how do I grow fast, but like how do I maintain growth and how do I keep the audience, right? And that's something that I'm still figuring out. But one of the things that around December I started thinking about a lot more, because my channel was still very small. So I didn't hit 100 subs until I think January. Yeah, and so thinking about that, I was like, what is content that they would search up or that they would be able to find that's easier for YouTube to recommend than just a video of another guy playing another song that they probably heard like 3 times, right? 3 or 4 times, if not like 10 times. And it's like thinking about educational content and teaching and stuff like that. And so I would say that I didn't really congeal everything into like the final, oh, this is how I'm good. This is what I know will grow my channel until like February with like, hey, why don't I talk about more than just my own playing, but I'll talk about someone else's playing as well. And then it's like, why don't I talk about the man himself, Animens? That I was like, okay, this is probably gonna grow the channel, right? So I put out the first video, me analyzing my Dearest. It took actually like 2 or 3 weeks before it actually started taking off. And then after that started taking off, I was like, okay, the proof of concept is there. I'm going to put in the time to make the Unravel review. Of course, it's the most famous video on my channel, right? And then that's obviously helped with my 8-hour live stream of me trying to learn Unravel. And then, yeah, I suppose that's what drove a lot of my growth to start off with.
That moment you decided to do the reviews, that was something that came to you after you started the channel, right? It wasn't like a plan from the beginning?
So from the start, I was just uploading because I wanted to play and I wanted to put it on YouTube. So it came more as a result of like thinking, I guess it was beyond just like thinking also about like, how do I drive more views to my channel, but also like, how do I service the people who now frequent my channel, right? So it came on the heels of my first cover that got traction in any piano was my Shield Hero ED2. And like in several anti-piano servers, it just became a thing. And all these anti-pianists started commenting on it. And so that just being engaged within that community for like a month, 2 months, really opened my eyes to the need for something like that.
No, it's very interesting. We know you're a sound engineer and you have all these interests in physics. What made you decide to have your YouTube center around music?
For me, playing the piano is much more of like how to say, like a personal hobby, right? Like a personal passion. Find myself much more able to be cathartic when I'm playing the piano as opposed to doing sound. Again, probably playing into experience and like comfortability a little bit too, right? The piano is a language or a conduit for a language that I've been speaking since I was 3 years old, whereas sound, it was like since I was 14 or like 13 or so. So, yeah. And so I guess all that just is like, oh, I find this a little bit more enjoyable. I'm starting to play a little bit more. I might as well record it right? And then since I'm recording this, and this is more producible content also, and also built off of just me doing things that I enjoy, I might as well.
You do all these live streams on your channel. You seem so natural and so comfortable.
Were you ever camera shy and you had to overcome it?
Yeah.
I don't think I was. I don't know. I feel like that's just very natural. I like, honestly, like, people have asked in my chat or like in my Discord or my streams or whatever, like, if I have taken public speaking lessons before, and I have not. I have not taken a single public speaking lesson before. And honestly, the way that I talk has always been very stream of conscious, and I've always been good at rambling. I think this is just a natural outflow of that, because instead of me just talking to one person, I am still just essentially, well, me just talking to one person ends up me just talking and then them being like affirmative, right? And then inserting injunctions every once in a while about their thoughts, or like redirecting or like pivoting me somewhere. And that's like essentially what chat does, or like what the stream provides the space to do, because I just get to monologue about whatever the topic is until someone brings up something that I think is interesting, and then I'll pivot slightly or address that and then continue my monologue.
Do you find yourself interact differently with people in person than online?
I will say that the impression of me online is that I'm an extrovert, right? Because I'm very energetic when I talk about the piano and anime and all these like fun things that I enjoy. But if you saw me in a group of friends, then I am like almost silent the entire time. So I really only get talking like this when I am given the space to.
Somebody on our Discord was asking, do you have any tips for keeping a conversation going, or how to ask questions?
Well, I think the advice that a lot of people give is you don't want to be thinking about your responses while someone else is talking, right? Because that means you're not listening. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if you are doing that in a sense because you are like desperately trying to clutch at trying to get the conversation to keep going, then that's when it becomes apparent that you're not listening. But what I'm doing instead, I feel, is a little bit different, because I'm listening to what's being said to me. At the same time, I'm trying to integrate what's being said to me into my understanding of the topic at hand. And the things that I don't understand or that don't fit into my understanding of the topic at hand become the questions that I ask. And so it's I think it requires like you to be curious about what's being asked or spoken about. And even if you're not curious, you need to at least try to convince yourself that you are curious, so that you ask questions, asking for deeper answers, right? When I strike up conversations, I'll ask the questions, I'll learn more about each field. And so for most of the people that I interact with, that I end up having these sorts of conversations with, I already have at least a slight baseline of knowledge about that field, and I can work off that baseline as well, beyond what they're telling me.
Yeah, we were thinking about how you're bridging the gap between classical piano
really
and anime piano, and like how does that enter into your teaching and your discussions? And
precisely because it's so influenced by animens at the moment. Anime piano is just classical piano, really, right? Like I should probably frame it a little bit better. Is you're playing the piano the same way. Like, I think all the way that you go about phrasing, the way that you go about thinking about the music should be the same. I don't see why there should be a difference, right? The approach that I take with my students now is still very much so. I first check to see if they, because I know some people come to me not wanting to learn classical, but I think there's been very few of those so far. So majority of people I will ask, are we okay with classical? If we're okay with classical, then you have to understand that I will preach this till I die. I don't know if everybody agrees with this, but it worked for me, so this is what I believe in. What my teacher told me, right? If you can play Bach, you can play everything else. So we're playing Bach, and so I mean, but like, be that as it may, right? Everything comes from, again, classical, and like building that sort of like foundation, thinking about how you hear things and the technique that you apply, even from like, you know, classical Baroque era, and how that's built upon into the Romantic era and stuff like that. And then really, I guess, beyond romanticism and stuff like that. That's where most of any piano technique and stuff lies, because big chords and lots of runs and stuff like that. But and lots of pedal, I should add. Lots of pedal is a hallmark of any piano.
So do you consider yourself more of a classical pianist or an any pianist?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know at the moment. I feel like, okay, and here's the reason why. I think I would consider myself more classical simply because I think about everything classically, right? Whatever thinking about things classically means. But at the moment, I'm playing more anime because I've like, much like okay, how do I say? So right now, I'm like still in the phase of coming back, where I'm playing all the stuff that I never played before and that I want to play. And I feel confident enough in my skill level and my technical ability that I don't feel like I need to work something for the sake of like learning something new yet, right? Right? So I'm just playing everything that I want to play, which tends to be things that I haven't played before, right? So that's why this past year, most of the classical pieces on my channel were Chopin, right? This is because I only played two Chopin pieces when I was studying through my career in high school, right? I played mostly Bach and Beethoven. And so that's why there's a little bit less. There's no Bach, right? One, because Bach is very contentious, and I don't want to throw myself into that yet. And Beethoven is, well, I played 2 Beethoven sonatas, but like the Moonlight Sonata was a piece that I always wanted to play, and Pathétique was just it was also a piece that I always wanted to play. So working on Chopin was really, my classical. Oh, I haven't done this before. I want to do more of that, right? And so I would say that that's me right now with anime. I hadn't done anime before. And since I'm emotionally invested in the shows that I'm watching, because I'm a weeaboo and I like anime now, so that gives me extra incentive as well to work on these sorts of pieces. And as a result, I play more anime these days than I do classical, just by like sheer number, right? But am I necessarily working on it for longer, or am I thinking about it in a way that's different? I would say not. So I find that I think that's like a 50-50 sort of answer. I would just call myself a pianist. There you go.
When you were born, there was already internet and it was already worldwide. So what does it feel like to grow up with knowing that you're able to connect to the rest of the world?
I wouldn't say that I always felt like I could connect with people easily. It's only become, I would say that it's probably like a thing that I took for granted until this year. I suppose with college, even beyond college, really with COVID, and I should say really with now the YouTube thing, this is when it's like really hit me. Wow, I can connect with, like, it still blows my mind that I hop on a Discord server, my Discord server sometimes, and sit in a voice chat with people from Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia. And it's like, first, why are you up at 5 a.m.? But like, 2, it's pretty cool, right? Like,
have you made some close friends over the internet?
I think it's one of the interesting things, right? I'm not a person who thinks that there can't be a genuine friendships, genuine relationships formed purely over the internet, right? But there's also, and again, I will say this is assuming like normal conditions, right? Because I do think that there are genuine conditions where you go to school and you're bullied, right? You have no friends at school. You don't have any environments to like really plug into, any communities to plug into. The internet, like a Discord server, might be your only true group of people who care about you, at least somewhat, right? But I would say I would draw the line there, right? Because at least somewhat, because they're not actually there. And this is something that I've noticed too, like in my server. I want to support people and be positive and be like very like open, right? And I want to be there for people. But like, what can I actually do, right? That's a like I can't actually physically be there for you. I can't actually physically like I can't take the time that it needs sometimes, because sometimes what you need is not just necessarily someone to listen to you talk about your problems or like rant about your life or whatever. Sometimes you just need a friend to sit there with you through that, right? And I can't do that because I'm on the other side of the world across the screen, right? And it's just not the same. Right? That's true of any relationship, right? That's true of like real life as well, but it's even harder on the internet, and that's the problem. So I don't know. This is what an interesting turn of discussion.
My last question. Having said that, would you date anybody you meet over the internet?
No, I think my answer would have to be no, because the way that I view relationships, at least for myself, is that I want to know the person first. I don't know. There's just something weird about like being friends with someone who you don't watch, who you don't like actually see them talk, like most of the time, I don't know. And so that makes it, if I applied it to dating, which I have taken always like kind of seriously in my life, right? More seriously than people my age, like as a concept as a whole, I should say. Then that makes it incredibly difficult for me to say, yeah, I would date someone who I met exclusively online because I would want to know her first.
Never say never.
Yeah. Gosh, Claire, are you trying to be my wing woman? You guys trying to set me up or something? Like.
If you have requirements, I can put it in the subtitles.
If you like music and anime, please reach out. Join us Discord. I feel like the pre-interview did nothing to prepare me for this.
Did we surprise you with some of the questions?
Yeah, you surprised me a lot.
Alright, thank you so much, Kayla, for coming to our show today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Did you have fun listening to our interview? Would you like to know more interesting things that we talked about?
For longer versions, please join us on our Patreon.
Yeah, check out our link here. And see you later.
Bye.
Bye.